In this video, we will identify and describe the various switches and controls of the GD Intercept 2.5 spacer frame machine. Starting at the main electrical enclosure, there is a main power disconnect on the rear door of the cabinet. This turns on and off the main power to the machine and also serves as a lockout point for the electric. To turn on the power, simply turn the switch clockwise a quarter turn. This provides power to the machine's electrical circuits, including a 24-volt DC power supply that powers the PC and the PLC. On the front side of the cabinet, the PC will automatically start booting up and launch the WinFrame software that is the interface to the machine's PLC and supplies production information to the controller. The PLC will also start up and go through a safety check. Master start cannot be achieved until this check is complete. This is usually apparent as all the e-stop buttons will light up briefly and then go out, provided that none of the e-stop buttons are depressed. The PC functions will be discussed in other videos. Approximately 10 seconds after the e-stop lights go out, master start can be achieved. On the front of the main electrical closure are 3 buttons: an e-stop or emergency stop button, a feed hold button, and master start. An e-stop button will immediately halt all operations of the Intercept machine, including the motor controls and pneumatic circuits. This is true of all e-stop buttons on the Intercept machine. When an e-stop is pressed, all buttons will illuminate, with the exception of the one on the main electrical enclosure. Any other e-stop that is pressed will flash. Other e-stop buttons are located at the exit end of the conveyor, the operator side and non-operator side of the cutoff, the operator side of the roll former, and the operator side and non-operator side of the feeder press. It is important to note that an e-stop button on the Intercept machine only stops the Intercept machine. The extruder, while in line with the Intercept, is a separate machine with its own e-stop circuit. The extruder is not stopped by an emergency stop on the Intercept. Master start provides power to the electrical and pneumatic controls of the machine. The Intercept will not run without master start. Master start must be pressed following an emergency stop or upon startup of the machine. A feed hold is used to temporarily pause the machine operation, such as at break or lunchtime. The line will resume normal operation when a feed hold is released. There are a number of physical and virtual feed holds on the machine, including one mounted on the extruder for operators' convenience. Feed holds are not tied electrically to the extruder and therefore do not stop the extruder, only the Intercept. They are only functional when the Intercept is in auto mode. Moving up the line, there are 2 buttons located at the exit end of the conveyor, a feed hold and an emergency stop. They both function as described on the main enclosure. There is also a material sensor at the end of the conveyor that is associated with the semi-auto and auto mode switch at the exit end of the extruder. The mode switch is also an Intercept control, which is mounted on the extruder for operator convenience. When in the semi-automatic mode, the spacers stop at the end of the conveyor. The operator can send them through the extruder one at a time by pressing the foot switch at the end of the extruder. In the auto mode, spacers bypass the sensor without stopping. Moving up to the cutoff, as mentioned earlier, there are 2 emergency stops, one on each side of the machine. Again, they abruptly stop the Intercept, but not the extruder. There is also a feed hold button, which can be used to stop the machine when in the auto mode. The only physical button on the roll former is another emergency stop. All other buttons are virtual buttons on the touchscreen panel. The Intercept 2.5 has 2 identical touch panel screens that are an extension of the HMI, or Human Machine Interface, which is the Intercept PC. These panels have various pages listed on the right-hand side, which allows the operator to toggle between the controls for the feeder press, the roll former, the crimper, etc. with the tap of the button. To the left of these buttons are the main enclosure controls. These are an extension of the controls on the main enclosure. Here one can achieve master start, switch between manual and auto modes, induce a feed hold, and even start a production schedule if it's already open on the HMI. Since we're in the vicinity, let's look at the cutoff page and work our way up the line. The cutoff width display shows the set position of the cutoff width adjust hand wheel. To the left of the display is an electronic brake for the hand wheel. When locked, the ring around the button is green. When unlocked, it's red. Pressing the button with master start on toggles the lock on and off. Never force the hand wheel when locked, as this can damage the locking mechanism. If left unlocked, it will automatically lock when the machine is placed in the auto mode. To the right of the width display is a preset button. This should not be pressed unless the home position needs to be reset. Typically, you should be able to change from one size spacer to another without having to reestablish home. When adjusting to size, always adjust a little wider than necessary, then close down to the set point. Doing this helps to eliminate backlash or play in the threaded rod that moves the dies in and out. This will be demonstrated in the next video on Intercept setup and verification. The blow-off button below provides a blast of air which may clear dirt and debris from the cutoff photo eyes. This can be used if the cutoff fails to cut off the spacers at the parting area. Press the feed hold button and then press the blow-off. The blow-off will also automatically activate each time the material is threaded into the roll former. The crimper page has some adjustable parameters visible that should only be changed by a qualified maintenance technician. These control the location and duration of the crimp at each corner. The crimper can be jogged forward or backwards by pressing the buttons below. These, like all other jog switches on the machine, only work when the machine is in the manual mode. These are typically only used by maintenance for testing and setup. To the left is a crimper on-off switch. Pressing this one in the auto mode toggles the crimper on and off. The crimper should always be left on. The crimper was added to the Intercept to ensure that the webs of ultra stainless steel spacers folded inward. But with the addition of the dowel pins on either side of the crimp fingers, the crimpers also control the corner flare. For this reason, it should be used on all spacer types to control corner flare. To the right is the crimper lube button. Should the crimp location become inconsistent, it could be that the ball screw that the crimper rides on needs lubricated. Place the machine in a feed hold and press the crimper lube button a few times. The crimper will automatically run a lube cycle when first switched from manual to auto mode. This function only works in the auto mode. The crimp engage button is typically only used by maintenance for testing and troubleshooting. On the roll former page, the locked unlocked button actuates two air cylinders on the top of the machine. For this to work, the Intercept must have master start, and there cannot be any material in the roll former. If the roll former is not locked before material is threaded into the machine, it will automatically lock to help maintain the form of the spacer. Never open or close the roll former with material in the machine. Doing so may damage the rolls, which are expensive to replace. As with the cutoff, unlock the roll former and adjust from one size to another. Always open wider than necessary, then close down to the set point to eliminate backlash or play in the threaded rods that move the rolls in and out. When locked, the outer ring is green. When unlocked, the ring is red. If the home position must be reset, unlock the roll former and turn the hand wheel counterclockwise to close the machine. When the hand wheel stops, back it off a little, then close it gently until it just stops, and press the preset button. Next, open it wider than the desired set point and close down to the set point. Lock the top of the roll former. The roll former has a jog forward and jog reverse button. Jog forward jogs the material through the roll former when threading it up. Reverse is typically only used by maintenance technicians for testing, and if used, should be done very cautiously when material is loaded, as it can create a jam up in the machine. The jog function only works when the Intercept has master start and is in the manual mode. The continuous jog feature, when toggled on, jogs all stations simultaneously back to the uncoiler. For example, if the roll former is jogged, the feeder press and the uncoiler will also jog as necessary to maintain the loop controls. When turned off, only the machine that is jogged will feed material. Continuous jog is accessible from the roll former and feeder press page. The uncoiler jog and feeder press jog buttons are also accessible from these two pages. The uncoiler can be jogged forward, uncoiling material, or in reverse, reeling it back onto the coil. The feeder press only jogs material forward through the machine. Material will jog as long as a button is pressed. Again, in order for the jog functions to work, the Intercept must have master start and must be in the manual mode. When in auto, the uncoiler, feeder press, and roll former jog buttons are disabled. The crimper may also be turned on or off from the roll former page. The feeder press page also has a digital width display with an electronic handwheel lock like the cutoff station. Pressing the button will toggle the lock on and off, and the green ring will appear when locked and the red ring when unlocked. Do not force the handwheel if locked. This can damage the brake. As with the other displays, it is not necessary to reset the home position when setting up the machine. Simply unlock the brake and rotate the handwheel to change size. Master start must be on for the brake to release. When changing the size, set the value a little higher than the desired, then close down to the target set point to eliminate the backlash in the threaded rods that move the dies in and out. The continuous jog and uncoiler jog buttons work the same as described on the roll former page. The material type switch in the center of the page shows the two types of material that are selected for the machine to run. The switch will automatically change to the type of material detected at the entry of the feeder press when the machine is put into auto. The die stops will also change to the type of material detected. The Intercept is capable of running thin plate, black thin plate, ultra stainless steel, or black ultra stainless steel. Maintenance will set up the corner dies to the material that is being used on the machine. The machine is capable of running two of these four types without changing the die setup. The three sensors at the entry of the feeder press are the material sensor, is there material present or not, the material color, is it silver or black, and the material type, is it tin-plated steel or stainless steel. The color of the dome light changes to indicate the material type, as does the color of the digital width display on the touch panel. The jog button at the bottom of the feeder press page is feeder press jog, which only jogs the material forward through the press. The punch test button is used to activate the 4 punch dies in order to verify their proper punch depth from the edge of the material towards the center of the strip. When pressed 4 times consecutively, it will activate the mutton punches, tab punches, corner punches, and the hole punches. Each punch will activate 1 time to prevent the dies from striking the same area multiple times. The sequence will be reset once the material is jogged out of the feeder press. Other setup features used by maintenance will appear if the screen is logged in on the sidebar. These will be discussed in maintenance training videos. There are still a few other pages that we have not discussed. The first one is the width display screen. This shows the width settings for the feeder press, roll former, and cutoff. An operator may use the screen to set up all three displays from this one page. It provides the ability to unlock and lock the width controls, but there are no jog functions from this page. The rate page allows the operator to change the line speed from the touch panel. This may also be done on the HMI in the production screen by selecting the button labeled Speed. The line can be run at 20, 40, 60, 80, or 100% of the maximum speed, which is based upon the roll former speed. Typically, this will be run at 60 to 80%, as the roll former will outrun the conveyor at 100%, and spacers may crash into each other on the conveyor. The last page is the fault screen. This displays the current faults on the machine, which may be different than the alerts displayed on the HMI. Be sure to check both if you have an issue that arises. One of the most common faults comes from an operator error as they're threading the material through the machine. They will have to turn continuous jog off in order to jog the uncoiler, because the blue roller is on the floor indicating a full loop condition, so the uncoiler will not jog in this state. When they thread the material through the feeder press, the loop will pull tight between the press and the uncoiler, causing a feeder press servo fault. This condition must be reset in the fault screen in order for the feeder press to jog. To avoid this fault from occurring, return the continuous jog to the on position when the material is fed into the press. Again, when an issue arises, check the faults page on a touch panel and the alert screen on the HMI to see what is causing the issue. This concludes the overview of the Intercept 2.5 switches and controls.